Hi, everybody. I'm trying to figure out how to flip my camera because guess what? I'm in the store. So it's Marisa Perry. Welcome to Female Founder Fridays. And I just wanted to show you that we came in today for somebody special. And although we're not open, obviously. And one of my friends from California has requested if I would go outside and show everyone the streets of New York. So I'm doing that now. Let me see if I can flip my camera. Oh, it doesn't look like it. Oh, there we go. Okay, Mila's going to let me out. So first of all, as you all know, we're on lockdown in New York City. So one of my girlfriends in Los Angeles said she wanted me to go around and show people the streets in New York. Well, take a good look because it's not very often that you'll see them quite this empty, although there is some activity. Here's one Lone Ranger here. So there's a tiny bit of activity, and we're in a very, very quaint village, West Village area. So of course, there are people enjoying their neighborhood. So I'm going to go back in, and we're going to address our topic here. So let's see. There's Mila. Hi guys. So anyhow, welcome to Female Founder Friday. I'm going to get situated at my actual desk at work. It feels so strange to be here since I haven't been in since we closed. So that's kind of odd. So hold on. You're going to lose me for 1 minute while I put this back in its tripod. Awesome. Hi. So a couple of weeks ago, we had a topic. We had a topic that we did, and it was about, the topic was it's better to be different than it is to be better. Of course, what I posted on Instagram was Coco Chanel saying, in order to be irreplaceable, you have to be different. Obviously, that's true because otherwise you could be, if you're a dime a dozen, and like everyone else, other people could easily replace you. So I really wanted to take this to a different level. I've discussed to you about it in regards to my business and my brand and branding and being different as a brand and setting myself apart from other people who do what we do. However, I also wanted to talk about how that relates to my team. My team is very, very important to me. We have a great group here of people that are really caring and really, really work hard, and they really give it their all. And I embrace the difference in each of my employees. And I think because I embrace the difference and because I encourage a difference, I think my company is better for it, and I believe yours would be too. And I'm going to explain why. If you walk into Tiffany's, you'll notice everybody's in a Tiffany black suit. That is their uniform. They actually wear a uniform at Tiffany's. I understand when you're a global brand and you have so many employees that you kind of have to have some control over wardrobe. I understand that. Or over how they're going to present themselves to the customer. I understand. But for me, I don't want my employees dressing alike and looking alike and being alike necessarily. I have one fantastic employee who, she's not even an employee, she's a partner. I see she joined us. Hi, Nazreen. Anyhow, she's incredible. She was such an incredible team member that my husband and I had to make her partner. She's just great. And she has her own unique style. She's Lebanese. She's absolutely gorgeous. She presents herself incredibly well. She knows everything about jewelry. Everything. She's been doing this since she was 9 years old, if you could imagine. Puts a whole new meaning to growing up in the jewelry world. And she handles customers in her own special way, and people love that about her. Now, she did bring in somebody who's a close friend of her, Mila, who's actually here with me today, who opened up the door for us. And she actually trained Mila. Now, one of the things is that Mila has her own look. Nazreen is dark hair, more olive complected, and Mila is like blonde haired and fair skinned and blue eyed. And Although there are certain techniques that she may have picked up from Nazarene, she has her own unique style with customers, her own personality with customers. She's got her own fashion style. She dresses beautifully, as does Nazarene. They both always look great. They both happen to be beautiful. And I love the fact that they have their own unique style and that they bring something unique to the table of my company. If I had everybody who was alike, then everybody had the same talents, and everybody was a clone of everyone else, I would not have people to do half of what I need them to do. So, sorry, I'm chewing gum. I see it I can see it in the camera. Anyhow, point being that I don't want everybody comes to any company with their own personality and their own sets of talents and who they are as a person. And I find it better to encourage that person to be more of themselves, not like someone else and model them after someone else by what they wear and what they say. Even in Cartier, gorgeous store, and I happen to love Cartier, and I happen to think Cartier jewelry is beautifully made. I just will tell you, it's like weird because it's scripted. Like they actually tell people what they can and cannot say to their customers. Now, sometimes you need to teach people how to sell something. I understand. I just feel like my atmosphere is better because I let everyone be themselves. And I'm going to just take this a step further. And by the way, I'm going to go ahead and answer questions too. In fact, I'm going to answer one that's coming in now because I've noticed that when I wait, I kind of miss some questions and sometimes it's hard to retrieve them. Have you ever had to curb or edit employees' style if it didn't fit your brand? Very good question. I have not had to edit an employee's style because it didn't fit my brand. I just really try to only hire people who I feel would fit. And there was one person that kind of overstepped his boundaries. I didn't like that and I took other measures towards that, but it wasn't necessarily how he was with customers. It was more how he was within my team. And I want to kind of start at the top and work backwards. Here's the complete thought of what I'm saying. My business will benefit and I will benefit, but my business will benefit if people walk in the store and they feel really good energy and they feel like everybody's happy and everybody loves working there and that everybody gets along and that we all like, and that they're appreciated and that they're understood where they are. Therefore, it's very important to me that they feel this way. So not only is it important personally for me to nurture and mentor and coach my team and coach each person to become more of who they are as their personality evolves, it's also great for business. So if an owner of a company didn't want to do this because they thought it was too labor intensive or they didn't want to do this because they didn't think it benefited them, only the employees, I really feel like it does benefit us because I think it makes the energy in the store better. And I think that people feel that the minute they walk in. Actually, I don't think that, I know that. But anyhow, they comment on it all the time. But what I think the most important thing is if I have, let's say 10 people working for me, and each one has their own skills, their own talents, their own personal style of how they dress, their own demeanor and way of handling customers and being with customers. It's very important to me to nurture each person and to encourage that person to become more of who they are and not like someone else. Someone else is already taken by that other person. I don't want to make my team members feel like they have to look or act or speak like someone else. And it happens to be common in jewelry, and I don't know why. But between the uniforms at Tiffany's, the scripting, the verbal scripting at Cartier for the new members who won't necessarily know what I'm talking about, the people that have just joined. We were talking about how important it is for my team to each have their own individual personality and styles and to be encouraged to have that. And we were talking about how, like at Tiffany's, everybody has to wear uniforms. At Cartier, not only, I'm sure, is there some kind of uniform, but they actually script what you actually say to customers. And I do understand the reasons behind these things, and I do understand that a global brand might have to operate differently than somebody who's like a personal private brand like me, but I just feel like it's very important for me to have a company where everybody feels really, really great becoming more of who they are. Because I feel that that helps in so many areas for a person. And in a company that I worked for many years, I feel like I can't say that they really encouraged me to be more of who I was. I can't say that. But they did leave me alone a lot to take care of what I had to take care of. And they gave me a ton of freedom and a ton of freedom to design and do marketing for their brand. Complete freedom. And so I had a lot of autonomy. So just by nature, I kind of came into my own more. I started there when I was 27 and I worked there until I was 39 or something. So I had a lot of, I was able to kind of do my own thing and go my own way. But for me, because I have a lot of young women and some young men that work for me, I just feel like it's really, really important to get to know them, find out where their strengths lie, and to find out how to nurture their creative talents and how to give them the jobs that fit those creative talents. Does anybody have any questions before I continue? I don't see any yet. I'm just going to scroll down, if you guys don't mind, for 1 minute and see if there was any other questions besides that one that I had. Well, feel free to ask any questions, because today the theme is it's better to be different than better, or you can't be irreplaceable unless you're different. And I was talking about this as how it actually affects my employees and how I translate that to the team. Can you guys get this? Do you know what one of my salespeople who's listening in here just said? Do you prefer Lebanese or Russian? Because she happens to be Lebanese and Mila, who's sitting with me, happens to be Russian. Very funny, very funny. That was a good one. Anyhow, if you guys don't have any questions about whether it's about being different and running a company and allowing each person to bring their own set of talents and their own personality to the table. I see another employee just chimed in and gave that a laugh. Oh, she's British, and she wrote, easy British. I do have a very international team. Russian, British, Lebanese, Dominican. Then I've got my husband and I who are American. I'm French, but I wasn't born there. And another person who's Russian. So we have a little international team going. But on that note, since there's no questions about the better to be different, I do kind of want to sidetrack onto, somebody just said, what about Italians? Well, I do have Italian in me, so I have to say the Italians are really great. Thank you. So anyhow, the other conversation that I was going to have regarding difference is, not only am I a firm believer in putting people in charge of things that they're actually good at. I think a lot of people have an opening in their company, and that opening requires certain skills. I just got somebody said no Greek. I also have a Greek girl working for me, so that trumps all. I'm sorry, but the Greeks, they got this thing going, so I have to. I should have talked about nationalities, because I did just have my ancestry.com DNA done. But anyhow, trying to get back to the subject at hand. I think I was interviewing with a guy once, and he was a competitor of ours, not in this business, in my former business. And I talked to him a lot, and he said to me that he only believed in really hiring people for things that they were really good at. And it was unusual, because I had come from a background in the company I was working in where there would be a job opening, and we'd just try to find somebody great that we liked, that we thought would be good, and put them in that job. We didn't necessarily tailor the pieces for how that person's brain operated. And I think it's really important to do that, because we have people here that do jobs that I could never do. My accountant, for example, I just can't do her job. And not only am I not trained, I just don't have the head for it. And we have somebody else who oversees all of the special orders and repairs. I can do that, but it's much more challenging for me than it is for him. So I think it's really important to pick somebody who's good at a task and put them in that task. But more importantly, when you do, it's very important to hold them accountable for that job. And that's something that is probably more valuable than anything that you may learn from me in my Female Founder Friday episodes. What I mean by that is a lot of people think in a small company or a family-owned business that they can actually share duties and responsibilities within the company. Road to disaster. I'm telling you that now. So if you don't hear anything else I say in any other Female Founder Friday, listen to this, because this is absolutely essential. Each person has to be responsible for their own duties and their own responsibilities. So when that item is not done or not completed, you know who to go to fix it, get it completed, to teach them whatever you need to teach, or do whatever you have to do in order to get that job done. And I say that because I knew two guys who had a business. And one day one guy did the books, another day the other guy did the books. And it started to get very confusing, because some days the other guy thought the other guy did the books, and the other guy thought the other guy did the books, and they ended up not getting done. Or they ended up doing double work separately from one another. Not an idea. If somebody does the books, the other person has to be doing something else entirely. And I think it's very important that each person has their own duties and responsibilities, and something that they can be held accountable for. So if it doesn't get done properly, you know. I have a question coming in. How quickly on meeting or interviewing someone can you get an instinct for their fit? Do your existing team have a say in anyone new you hire, and do you build an instinct for hiring over time? No, and I think it takes a really long time. And this isn't an answer I want to give you. I love it when I hear people go, oh, I know right away when I meet someone if they're going to be a fabulous employee. Oh yeah, I know immediately. And I'm like, dream on. Or, wow, you really have a talent that I don't have. And I would love to say, I'm embarrassed to not say that have such a good read on people, and I can tell people immediately, and I totally trust my instincts with them. First of all, number one, I trust my instincts with them to know whether they're a nice person or not, pretty much. But in my experience, I've hired people. I had a team of 200 under me in my old company. I would hire people that I thought would be great, and they turned out to not be so great. I hired people that I was on the fence about. They turned out to be amazing. And I've had a lot of in between that. So I feel that my method is, after 3 months, I'll tell you how good you are, or after 6 months. But really 3 months gives me a good gauge about how you're going to perform with my company and how well you're going to work. Because you can seem great and nice and sweet and wonderful, and when I tell you to do something, go, okay, no problem, I'll do it later, and it never happens. That doesn't work for me. But anyhow, and another part of this question was, does your team have any say into who you hire? Absolutely. First of all, my store is about 1,000 square feet. It's not that big. And it's big, very big for New York, but it's not that big, period. And we all work very closely together. I really do not want to bring in somebody that my team doesn't like. I mean, that would kill it. And I always have my husband interview whoever I interview. I always have Nesreen, because she's the store director, the Lebanese one. We call her the Lebanese queen. Nobody would ever get hired without her. But also I do like the rest of my team to talk to new hirees. And I will ask everybody what they think, because it's very, very important to me to know what they think of who I'm going to hire, because we have to spend a lot of time together and we have to really be a good fit. For example, recently I hired someone in marketing. Emily runs my marketing and runs the Instagram. So if you like the Instagram, you can definitely pay Emily a compliment, because she really does all of our Instagram. And I would never bring somebody into her department that will actually technically work for her without her feeling really great about it. So, and sometimes, I wouldn't hesitate if you ever have a question, or you don't want to get someone's hopes up, or you want to take a chance on someone, but you don't know yet if they're going to be good. You can say, listen, I really like you, and I think you could be really good, but I don't know. And I'm going to hire you for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks. And let's see how it works together. So I'm going to commit a 4-week time frame to you. And if you feel like that's good enough, great. And if not, then, maybe we'll move on. But, and by the way, it gives them 4 weeks to see if they like you and to see if they feel like they fit in your company. And I don't hire people that I fire right away. I've hardly ever fired anyone. I want somebody that I know is going to be a good fit coming in, and somebody that we all really like coming in, and then hopefully we can all get along great. So that's the most important thing. But I also feel like, if you ever read the book, The E-Myth, which is a really great business book, if you haven't read it and you own your own company, get a copy of The E-Myth. There's a few versions of it and a few updated versions. It doesn't matter which versions. It's great. I'd probably get the first one. And they talk about a woman who was really great at baking pies. She loved baking pies. It was her hobby. She was known around for it. Her friends would always have her bake them pies for occasions, and she was really great at it. So everybody, of course, does the obvious thing. You should open a bakery. You should open a bakery. So this is a story in The E-Myth, and it's really poignant. And so, I'm sorry, I'm flicking. Sorry, I just have hundreds of alerts coming in, and I thought I could get them off the screen. So anyhow, everybody said you should open your own pie business and your own pie store and your own bakery, and you're so great and you should do that. And I think that somebody just wrote, we would love to get a list of your favorite business reads at some point. Okay, I will give those to you. So one is From Good to Great. Can't remember the author at the moment. I'll bring it next week. And also The E-Myth is probably one of those top books. So in any case, she did apparently go and open the bakery. So she would bake her pies. She would help customers. They'd come in, they'd buy her pies. Well, more and more people started finding out about her. She got kind of popular, and more people. So she was trying to bake the pies, sell the pies, be the cashier, and do the books at the end of the month. So, good luck with that. So, my friend wrote Good to Great, thumbs up from Collins. That's right. So thank you. I really love that book. So point being, you can't do everything in your own business. Number one, that's a huge, huge error. You should always learn to delegate out a little. I know it costs money, and a lot of people may not have that kind of money to spend, to allocate towards staff. But if you're starting a real business, like a real company, and you get financing for a year, get somebody to do your books. Get somebody to do the things you don't like to do, unless you love doing your books, unless, if you love bookkeeping. But I think that for her, she should have stayed with maybe being the pastry chef. She could have just baked her pies all day, hired somebody for whatever, $15 an hour or $10 an hour, whatever the fee is now for minimum wage or above that, to actually sell the pies and take care of the customers. She could have someone else doing the books. Because if you're up all night baking pies, you're not really going to be that great at bookkeeping. I think you need to separate out what has to be done, and you might do more at the beginning. Like for me, I was doing all of my marketing alone when I first opened my company. My husband was designing and manufacturing the jewelry, which he does, and I was trying to build a company and do everything I could. Then we had a retail store, and I was the salesperson, and he was selling. The only reason we open up at 12 o'clock to this very day is because initially my husband and I were working 7 days a week, from 12 to 7 days a week. So we decided we would start at noon to make it a little easier on us. One of my comments from Erica Brechtel, she said, great advice for women who think that we can do it all. Well, I think we can do it all. I just don't think it's positive for your business to do it all. I think you need time to rest, time to have a break. I think you need time to possibly get somebody who can do certain things better than you. What if you're tired? What if this girl was tired from baking pies all night and she makes a mistake in her books that could be very costly? Those are things I think you need to, if you're going to open a company and you're going to open a business, and treat it like a real business, let's say like a brick and mortar store or even an online store. You need to figure out what needs to be done to make that a success, and how many people is that realistically going to require. Because someone once told me, if you can't do it that way long term, why start that way? I think like you kind of have to come into a way. I never did my own accounting, for example. So I think that, and I'm not good at it. I mean, I don't like it. I know how much money I have coming in and how much money I put out, and I'm great with circling numbers around in my head like that. That's not an issue. But if you have to put me in front of a computer, to do, to balance sheets, forget about it. I hate that. I'd kill myself, not to mention, not exactly, but it would be real torture for me. And also, it would be a complete and total waste of my time and my efforts. So I really think that stick to doing what you're good at. In this lady's case, it was baking pies, for example, and have other people do the other. That gives you a little room to grow into that. The woman who was baking pies and selling pies, that's great when she's doing it out of her house and she has some friends who are asking her. But if she opens up a business, she needs an accountant, she needs a lawyer. Great advice, by the way. I got that when I was very young. And you also have to have somebody to do your books if that's not something you're good at, or somebody to help customers if you need help in that arena. Very important. And it leads me to think of something. When I was 25 years old, I moved to New York. It was 1985, if you can believe it. And I got a job with Barney's New York. They were a downtown men's store at the time. And they started really garmento people from way back, the dad had an old men's haberdashery. Story of Barney's New York, interesting, the Pressman family. And through time, as downtown got a little more sophisticated, and a lot of people were still living uptown at that time. Downtown was not as evolved as it is now. But it started to get nicer and nicer and attracted better and better clientele. So by 1985, they had been around for 2 generations. By 1985, they had decided, wow, I'm getting a lot of people that are spending a lot of money. I'm getting a lot of men from Wall Street, and they're coming in and they're buying really expensive suits and ties, and they're spending a lot of money. We want to open a women's store. So they opened a women's store downtown. They had no other women's store at the time. I worked at that store. Later, they found out maybe the money was still uptown. Then they opened uptown because they were too early on the downtown. And then later, they opened up back downtown, and now they're gone. So sad, because they did have a unique concept in their beginning stages. But I started, what was I going to tell you about starting to work at Barney's when I was 25 and I moved to New York? Oh, and so I had the general store manager. I really, really liked her. They had a lot of people in and out of that store, but she was there for a while and I was very fond of her. And she, like hundreds of other people, said, oh, you should have your own business. You should own your own business. You should run your own business. You should have your own company. And I'm like, really? I mean, thank you. I appreciate the compliment. That's really, really sweet. But, really think about that. That's really complicated. And I told one of the women, I told her name was Eve Krukus, and I said, I don't know how to do the bookkeeping, and I don't know how to run a business necessarily. And so I said, I can help customers, I can sell things, I can buy things, I can do all of that. I just can't I can't do the financials. And she said, nobody can. Hire a lawyer and hire an accountant and open your own company. And I kind of thought, oh, is that how you do it? I didn't know that's how you do it. And I highly recommend it. Now, you're going to need a lawyer to incorporate, obviously, if you decide to incorporate. But I also feel that you may never need a lawyer after that. I can't think of how many times in my business I've needed a lawyer. A couple of times, maybe for some documentation I needed for something else. But it turns out now that my accountant is my lawyer, an overachieving guy, and he became both. So I have him on hand for any legal questions. And I think now that I've gotten a lot bigger, more things come into play that I'd like to know how to do. I needed a certificate of incorporation for these PPP loans that they're trying to give out. I say trying because it has not been it's been difficult to get for business owners to get their hands on that. And so I called him, being a lawyer, and I said, how do I get my certificate of incorporation? That was a piece of paper I don't think I ever received from the beginning of my company. And he told me. So for those types of things, it's very important. But I think that those are things that you can hire other people to cover your bases and that you can delegate out. And if you're not great in sales, or you don't like it, do yourself a favor. Hire a great salesperson. Make them a partner, or don't. Give them a really high commission if they sell, or just get somebody that you really love that you think is going to sell. Because if they can do it better than you, it's really, really important to have that person there. And my bookkeeper, who's an accountant, she's a CPA as well, she's far better than I'll ever be. So I don't even bother with that. Hi. So anyhow, does anybody have any questions about any of the material that I have discussed today? I'm waiting. If not, we can soon close out, but I would love to answer any business questions. Obviously, we have a jewelry company, so you can ask me any jewelry question as well. But if you're not asking jewelry questions, I'm happy to help any of my my female founders or male founders. I don't discriminate, to help them with any business questions they might have. I see people joining but not coming on with a question. Well, anyhow, thank you all for joining. Oh, here we go. What is my favorite position in the store? I have to think about that. Something that I personally enjoy doing. I enjoy working with customers when I really like the customers. That's super fun. That can be a real bright light in my week, but I never can totally be present because I have so much on my mind of all my back of the house work that I have to do. It's really hard for me to totally be fully present with them, but I do try, and I do help customers, and that I really enjoy. And I really enjoy marketing and marketing strategy. And I would say that my biggest thrill in the company that doesn't depend on a particular person or who they are or like how they are with me. I love building a brand. I got into this business because I really wanted to create a brand, and I really wanted to build a brand. And that is my absolute favorite part, is the marketing and the challenge of driving people to your store, and which is really difficult, and getting people to know who you are, and putting it out there, and doing the right kind of marketing, and reaching the right audience, and just doing, like, running as fast as you can to do absolutely as much as you can to get your name out there. That is my favorite challenge, and the reason I started my own company. I met my husband, and he did gorgeous jewelry, and I loved it. But I started my company because I wanted to build a brand, and I wanted to own my own company. Finally, after 20 years of people telling me I should do that, I caved and I did it, and I guess they were right because it worked out really well. I think that there was another one. Oh, hold on. Let me see if I can scroll down here. Can someone that is not very business savvy learn to be good at business? Absolutely. I think so. I mean, I may say that because maybe I have a knack for it that other people don't have, and that could be a possibility. But I think that if you have common sense, I think that you're already like 70% there. And then the rest is like learning things like what I'm teaching you. And you don't have to go to business school to learn business. I get people out of business school and I'm like, so tell me, like, what am I doing wrong? Or what should I be doing that I'm not doing? Oh, I don't know. And I don't remember, or whatever. Like, you should learning by doing, and working in businesses is the greatest way. I happen to have great teachers, and I happen to have an inclination towards business, but I think listening to courses like this, and listening to things on the internet. Next week I'll bring a book. It was like the top things I learned in Harvard Business School. It's about this big, and you can flip through it and read that. That's fascinating. Another one about branding. So I think that you can kind of go to work in a business, see what works, see what doesn't work, and read up on mistakes other people have made and what they think. And I think that you should become good. But you know what? Not everybody has to be a business person to own a business. My husband, when I first met him, was not really a business person. He's an artist, and he makes the most beautiful jewelry I had ever seen. And he's really great at getting talented people to actually do the labor on it. And he's great at manufacturing it. He's been around forever. He knows everybody. But he's become a really good businessman, but he was not always that. So you don't have to be the business person to own a business. You got to get someone that can do the business side. You got to get a partner that you love, that you trust, who can do the business side of it. let's see if I have any other questions here. I'm not sure. Oh, here we go. Do you think it is important to build a company with an exit strategy, or do you advise just to lead with passion and see where it goes? Sorry, my phone's coming untaped from this cradle. A lot of these questions are really, really good, and sometimes I have to think about an answer. Okay. So I'm gonna hold my own phone now. The reason I didn't hold my own phone is on my desk. It looks like I have a woman's chest above me, which I do. So I kind of thought that wouldn't be the best thing for a business lesson. But here's the thing about an exit strategy. It depends. It depends on you and your business. Number one, if you feel that you want to build a brand so you can sell a brand, or you want to build a business because in 10 years you're moving to Florida and you want to sell it, then definitely that should be your exit strategy, and you should actually work towards that. But I like the idea in the beginning of thinking to yourself, I'm going to go at this with passion. This is something I love to do. Let me go at it with passion. Let me see how it works. And let me see how I do, and let me see how the business evolves and does, and then I'll decide, do I want to sell? Do I want to have someone run it? Do I want to expand? Do I want to open up nationwide? You can see if your concept works first before you decide on an exit strategy. So I think having an exit strategy when you begin a business is a little difficult because you don't really know how that business is going to go. And although I do think you have a lot more control over that than you know. Maybe that's a subject we should talk about, is how much control you actually do have over the success of your business. So let's see. Do you think it's important to build a company with an exit, or do you advise just to lead with passion? So I think really leading with passion and seeing where it goes is the best thing. I really feel, and I've discussed this, I think either last week or the week before on Female Founder Friday, I am a big believer in doing what you love, because you're going to have to do it for many, many hours a week, and I don't want someone to be miserable. And I was telling a couple of weeks ago a story about this girl who we were sitting together. It's a family member, a distant family member who I don't know very well. And she said to me, you know, I think that doing what you love every day and finding a job that you love and you're really passionate about, I think that's really overrated, because I think it's better to just get a really good job where you get good pay and then you can have fun on the weekends. And I said last week, and I probably think I will, I'm going to talk to her about that. I come from a really different space, and I think that she thought, because I'm older than she is, that I would love that she was so mature that she had that strategy that she needed to tell me, like, oh, I don't need that. I'll just work and have fun in my personal life. I come from a whole different, holistic approach to work. Think of what you love doing more than anything else in the world and make that your career. If you have a hobby and it's, fixing violins, you don't have to do that as a career. But I'm just saying, if you have something you're really passionate about, my husband is so passionate about jewelry. He will die if he's not designing jewelry. If you're an actor, and you will die if you're not acting, or a musician, or if you feel like you have to be a clothing designer, or whatever you're so passionate about, whatever you want to spend 40 or 50 or 60 hours a week doing every week, that is the career you should pick for yourself, because you're going to have to spend it doing that, and you don't want to be miserable in your life. You want to feel really happy and joyful every day. And I've had a lot of people that have been envious in a negative way about me being joyful about my first career, about my second career. They all wanted a piece of that because, why is it making her so happy? I want a piece of that. And they did things that weren't so ethical to get a piece. And actually, what the story really is the only reason I was so joyful is I was doing something that I loved more than anything else in the world. And they weren't. So they can't have that joy doing what I'm doing if it's my favorite thing to do and they don't like it. Like, my husband loves football. I don't love sitting and watching a football game. It's never going to do for me what it's going to do for him. So for him, that is an incredibly joyful experience. For me, it's not. and unless I'm really live and have great seats, but usually not. So point being, I feel that if I had a career that I loved the first time around. I was in the food business and I would find ingredients for chefs to use on their menu. And I was really entrenched in this business and it was more fun than anything. And I was paid to dine. It was a dream job. And I did want to have my own company. And I ended up opening this company after with Douglas. And I love having my own company. I love the branding. I love my team. I love having a store. And so that's what makes me joyful every day. And I want everybody else to have that same joy. That's very important, especially when you have to do it so many hours. So, and people who think that they can work 3 hours a week and make a ton of money, good luck with that. And if you figure that out, let me know, because I'd like to know. That would be really cool. So anyhow, do I have any more questions? It's 3:40. I'm happy to sign off, or I'm happy to stay on, should anybody have anything else they want to ask. Cool. Well, I think we're good to go. Thank you so much for joining me every Friday, 3 o'clock, Female Founder Fridays. I always pick a different business topic, which I announce in advance, so you can think of some questions you might have for me. You can always reach out to me personally if you have questions about business or jewelry that you need to know. You can always send me a message on Instagram, and my team will be sure to give it to me, especially Emily, like I said earlier. And I am delighted to help anybody on Instagram Live or off with anything that you need. So have a wonderful week, stay safe, and we'll speak to you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.